ES Audio.
From the Evening Standard in London, I'm Rochelle Travers, and this is The Leader. Two brothers in conflict.
I don't know how staying silent is ever going to make things better.
Wouldn't your brother say to you, Harry, how could you do this to me? After everything we went through, wouldn't that be what he would say?
He'd probably say all sorts of different things.
Some people will say, you have railed against invasions of your privacy all your life. But the accusation will be, here are you invading the privacy of your most nearest and dearest without permission. That'll be the accusation.
That would be the accusation from the people that don't understand or don't want to believe that my family have been briefing the press.
Clips there courtesy of Harry the Interview, which airs on ITV1 and ITVX at 9 p.m. on the 8th of January. In a series of bombshell leaks of his new book, Prince Harry claims his brother William physically attacked him. He goes on to say his brother and then future wife Kate told him to go to the fancy dress party wearing that Nazi uniform in 2005. It's also alleged that King Charles, their father, pleaded with his sons not to make his final years a misery after Prince Philip's funeral. This all comes as more clips from the Duke of Sussex's ITV interview are released ahead of the publication of Spare next week. With so much damage already done, even before the memoir hits the shelves, is there any way back for our royal family? Robert Dex is the Evening Standard's arts correspondent.
The first shock is that something was leaked, the publishers have told everyone who'll listen about the sort of high security way they're approaching this. Nobody expected the leaks to come out, so there's that. I mean, the headline is clearly Harry's description of this fight he had with William, which ended with insults being thrown and William pushing him over, so he was cut on his back when he landed on the floor. I mean, one of the saddest things to come out of it actually is a recounting of a conversation that was had, I think, at Prince Philip's funeral. Sort of Prince Charles standing between Harry and William, sort of begging his sons not to make his final years what he called a misery, which I think is just really sad when you think about it. If you want a lighter side, one of the things that a lot of people commented on is the fact that the brothers call each other Willy and Harold, which sort of makes it sound like this is all happening in a sort of 1970s sitcom rather than a modern day England and the royal family.
There's also an allegation that William and Kate encouraged him to wear that Nazi uniform to the costume party in 2005, isn't there?
Yeah, he sort of says he had the Nazi uniform and another option and didn't know what to wear, so phoned them up and said, what should I wear? And they both said, yeah, go for it. I mean, the thing about that, actually, what's striking about that isn't that whether his brother and his brother's wife advised him badly. It's the fact that that's not far off 20 years ago. It clearly still rankles with him that he got dragged over the coals for it and he feels it wasn't all his fault. I mean, I think that's actually quite an interesting insight, isn't it? I mean, you think about what's happened in this man's life, all the major events that happened in his life, and he's making sure that he's pointing out that he's not to blame for a fairly stupid youthful transgression. So clearly that still sort of smarts with him, I think, to put it mildly.
Robert, how bad has today been for the royal family?
I mean, I'm going to caveat all my answers by saying I'm not a royal correspondent, but actually, maybe not that bad, which sounds like a strange thing to say, but you think about recent years. I mean, you think about that Oprah interview, the allegations of racism, all the talk about how mental health and care for mental health was, diminished and derided. That was really serious, damaging stuff, really serious. I think compared to that, brothers falling out and having a fight. I mean, I can see it's all very newsworthy and all that, but actually, I don't think it's as serious as that. And also, the thing with the Oprah interview was it was the first big bang, wasn't it? By now, we're sort of used to. Everyone knows Harry is uncomfortable with lots of things that happen in the royal family. Everyone knows Harry is prepared to talk about lots of things that happen in the royal family. So you're starting to get into a sort of, well, it's going to sell a lot of books and a lot of newspapers and cause a real stir. I think you're getting into diminishing returns now. You can only shock people so many times. And actually, once the dust settles, I think people in the palace might think, you know what, if this is the worst it gets, we can probably live with that.
What has the public reaction been to all this?
I mean, I think the reaction we won't know until the book comes out next week, because I imagine sales will go up even more, and that will be hard to quantify till we start seeing where it goes on the bestseller list. I think a lot of this, I don't think there's anything here that will massively change people's minds. I think you've got three groups of people, haven't you? You've got people who couldn't care less. You've got people who are team Harry and Meghan, people who are devoutly anti-Harry and Meghan, And I don't think there's much movement between those. And I don't think that anything that came out of the book today will particularly change people's minds.
At the time of recording, Buckingham Palace hasn't responded. Do you think that they will?
I can't imagine there'll be any kind of official comment at all. I'm sure that tomorrow's papers will be full of royal insiders saying this, that, and the other. But I mean, I think what they've said so far is essentially something like the royal family are very sad that it's come to this and would like to keep the door open, to have a better relationship. And that's kind of all they can say, isn't it? I mean, I don't think that will change. They're certainly not going to get into sort of picking apart individual bits of the book and going through it line by line to, rebut it or to confirm it or any of that. All you'll get is a very general comment. And I'm sure it will be along the lines of, the door is open. We are, saddened by this, but, he's still part of the family.
Let's go to the ads. Stay there to hear more from Robert Dex about Prince Harry's revelations. Whilst you're here, why not give us a rate and follow? Welcome back. There's also some new clips out from Harry's ITV interview, which airs on Sunday. What's come out from them?
Funny enough, I've been thinking about this, and when you listen to what Harry says, he's sort of saying, he wants his dad back and his brother back, and he wants a family, not an institution, and he's talked about how difficult it is being in the royal family as an institution. I've sort of thought, well, at some point, is he inching towards saying the royal family does not work for the people involved, and therefore maybe it should go? For the sake of them having a normal life. But actually, the ITV clip, Tom Bradby, the journalist who was interviewing him, said to him directly, "Do you still believe in the monarchy?" And Harry said unequivocally yes. So that was interesting, in that he's probably criticised it as much as anyone in recent years. But when asked, when it comes down to it, does he still believe in it? His answer is yes. Also, actually, Bradby also pushed him on basically writing the book. I mean, this is a man who has complained about invasions of privacy almost constantly. And Bradby says, well, you're invading other people's privacy, aren't you? So he's pressed on that as well. The really interesting thing is, because obviously we have the coronation coming up. And he says, if you're invited to the coronation, will you come? And Prince Harry says, there's a lot that can happen between now and then, which is not an enthusiastic yes, is it, by any means? So I think that sort of picks up the next point, doesn't it? The next sort of pinch point, if you like, for the palace is going to be the coronation. Do Harry and Meghan come? Do their children come? Where do they sit? What do they wear? Do you know what I mean? Where are they in the scale of the royal family and all that? So that's interesting. I think that's where people will be looking at next for seeing where the movement is, if you like, to see how easy it would be for them to come back into the fold.
Spare officially hits the shelves next week. Do we think there could be more interviews, books, documentaries from Harry and Meghan?
I'm sure there will be, because there's an awful lot of money to be made from it. So yes, there will be books, there will be programs, there will be films, there will be documentaries, there'll be, you name it, everything. And whether there'll be anything further in it, any revelations, anything that adds, if you like, to the general understanding of what's happened, I don't know. There is only so many times you can sing this song. We know Prince Harry doesn't like, if you want to put it that way, the way the royal family operates. We know how he feels that it treated his wife. We know how he feels about how his mother was treated. We know him and his brother have a strained relationship. I'd say, unless there's something absolutely shocking that we do not know about that will come out in due course, I sort of think it's all out there now. That won't mean it won't be recycled endlessly. I'm sure it will be. But whether there'll be anything new or anything that adds to our understanding, I'm slightly more doubtful.
Do you think Harry will ever return to the royal family?
No. I mean, I'm no expert, but I mean, unless he has a huge change in mind, he clearly doesn't want to. The royal family obviously is if you like, is permanently in motion, isn't it? Charles is about to be crowned king, which means William is now the heir to the throne. So everything is now looking at Charles, and then how do we move William, and how do we position him so that when he becomes heir to the throne, it's a smooth succession. William and Harry clearly have serious problems, and you can't imagine that William would want him back officially in an official role, and Harry certainly doesn't seem to want to come back. Having left for the reasons he said he's left, it would be very hard for him to come back, wouldn't it? Because he's basically said the way the royal family works is not compatible with how I want my children to be brought up. So to come back, I think would involve a huge, 180-degree turn that I just can't see him doing.
And that's it from The Leader. This podcast is back tomorrow at 4 p.m.